That's it. I just put the last nails on the coffin of a portion of our pastured pig production. I should have buried this issue once and for all a long time ago. I just shipped off the last litter of our Mangalitsa pigs, and they're on their way headed to Indiana. And as much as I hated the Mangalitsas, I'm also a little sad about it. I'm Rob from Dowdle Family Farms, and sometimes we have to make decisions that are best for the farm business. And frankly, with these Mangalitsas, my emotions have been all over the place over the years. I've got somebody coming to pick up pigs tomorrow, so I've got to load 2 different groups of pigs so that they'll be ready when they get here first thing in the morning. 2 of our larger feeder pigs are going, and then our 5 Manga Berkshire crosses. So before we can catch the mangas, I need to catch these 2 larger feeder pigs first. This guy wants a couple that are closer to market weight, plus these 5 feeder pigs. I'm not real sure how easy it's going to be to catch the 2 larger pigs. I usually train them to jump into the livestock trailer a week or so before it's time for me to load them up. But I just confirmed that they wanted these larger pigs yesterday, so we'll see how it goes. I'm often asked about the easiest way of loading pigs, and the best thing you can do is back your livestock trailer up to the pen, feed the pigs in there for several days. Usually the first time a few will jump in. That's what ends up happening on this trip. But that's fairly typical for the very first time when you're feeding them. Then over the next 3 or 4 days, just about every one of them will end up loading up in the trailer. It works out beautifully. You just got to give them a little bit of time and energy. Once we get them loaded in, then it's time to sort out all those pigs that we don't want to take with us. So I'm going to jump in the livestock trailer and see if I can wear this camera on my chest and give you a little bit of idea of what I'm doing there. Hey, girl. There you go. Good job. That barrel and that barrel are the 2 that are going. So I need to get all the others out. So you need to stay in the trailer, buddy. Yeah. All right. Good job, girl. All right, you are gonna stay. Actually, I think that'll work out just fine. Let's go, ladies. That didn't take long. It only took about 6 or 8 minutes. I spent more time trying to get the pigs to figure out what they wanted to do. Let's give these feeder pigs a strip of forage before we go catch those Mangalitsas. You see, I first got the Mangalitsa pigs because I couldn't find a steady supply of feeder pigs. I'd heard about they were great meat quality and they foraged really well, and most importantly, they were excellent mothers. I thought they'd fit into our system really well, especially since I'm on this mission to reduce our grain cost, feed our pigs with nutritious cover crops that also help feed soil life. After talking to 2 different people that had groups of breeding Mangalitsas, I purchased a breeding trio of Mangalitsas, a gilt, a sow, and a breeding boar. Soon thereafter, someone else offered to give me some Mangalitsas. It was a mixed herd, and that was the real mistake. That second herd of Mangalitsas had some real problems. From being wormy to being half-starved and jumping through fences, they just were not taken care of very well. At the same time, I'd never farrowed pigs before, and so we ran into a lot of problems. A year later, I had a couple hundred pigs. I was farrowing on pasture. I'd moved the pigs out here to this part of the farm to get away from the boar so that he wouldn't breed all the gilts when they started cycling. That was one of the problems I had with too many pigs. The short of a long story, it was a debacle. And worse yet, those pigs took over 2 years to come to a halfway decent market weight. I knew Mangalitsa's took longer to get to market weight. I naively thought that if I had them foraging more, I could reduce the grain. But feeding pigs a less amount of grain for a longer period of time just wasn't working very well. And honestly, these genetics that I've developed since I've had the Mangalitsas, they're mostly Berkshire, Duroc, and Hampshire-based genetics, are performing well on pasture. They're foraging well on pasture, and they have great meat quality. I've got a lot of videos about why I would never start raising any kind of lard breed pig. Idaho pastured pig, Cooney, Mangalitsa, American guinea hog, or others on a market scale. I hope you can learn from my several $1,000 education. Don't start with those pigs. And while there is a niche market that'll pay for the premium pork, most people are not used to purchasing whole pigs. Secondly, they want standard high quality cuts of meat. And most people don't want to pay $10 or $15 a pound for fat or lard. I know there's a market for lard, but not for lard that is that expensive. It's just not feasible in most systems. That's why I recommend that people start with standard meat pigs to compare the growth rate, the feed consumption, the carcass quality, cost of raising those specialty breeds, and most importantly, whether you even have a market for such expensive specialty breeds. So I got rid of the bulk of those Mangalitsas when they were escaping fences. They were stubborn and they were not well-behaved pigs. Again, there were some genetic issues in that mix as well. But I did keep one Mangalitsa sow that was a good one. The Mangalitsa sow that I decided to keep was Annie. She was the sow from that breeding trio that I purchased. She was well behaved. She stayed within the electric fences. She was easy to deal with, even though she was a little bit leery of people. Even though I was moving on to Berkshire-based genetics with some Duroc and Hampshire in there, I kept that one pig because I still liked the meat and I liked the fat from that Mangalitsa. So our Berkshire boar bred her, and we had that Manga Berkshire cross. Interestingly enough, that Berkshire Manga cross is the fastest growing Mangalitsa cross that I've seen. They were still slow growing, reaching market weight from 9 to 11 months, a couple months slower than our Berkshire-based genetics alone, but much better than most of the other Mangalitsa crosses. And even though we don't have a lot of market for the Manga meat, I've sold a few Mangalitsa piglets to individuals who are raising them for their own meat, and that's mostly the meat that we've eaten as well. Annie died after this last failing, and her last piglets survived themselves from 1 week to 4 weeks old. At which point I caught them and brought them over here to the training pen. Since we've gotten that Berkshire boar, the 3 litters of Mangalitsa piglets that we've gotten crossed with him, they've been kind of pet projects, and I've known that I needed to get rid of them, but I was just hesitant to do it. You see, in many ways, Mangalitsas are the breed I've raised for the longest period of time, even though they were a debacle. Our farm is becoming more and more of a business. And farming is a business, that our farm is growing. We're selling more and more meat, we're selling more and more livestock, and it's time to be focused on that rather than just pet projects. We've got the infrastructure in place to rotate our pigs on 10 acres of pasture, and I've got more in early stages of development. And the purchase and the use of the grain bin now is making things much more efficient, which is needed to happen. But the growing pains of a farm, and a business too for that matter, we've got to push away from those things that have brought us to where we are now. So as we say goodbye, not just to these Mangalitsas, but all the Mangalitsas that we've raised, it's also time to embrace the future of a farm that is profitable, while also looking back and being grateful for those educational experiences that cost us perhaps a small fortune, but also have brought us where we are today.